Joker. Surprisingly, I did not get shot going to the theater to see this. Joaquin Phoenix is one of my favorite actors, and he just knocks it so far out of the park with this performance and his take on the Joker, which is completely unlike anything we've ever seen before. Like, I love the fact that Joker starts out in the movie already being crazy. Like, I've never been a fan of the idea of Joker just being this normal, well-adjusted guy who just suddenly one day snaps. He's not Thanos, what am I talking about? It is pretty clear to anyone who's seen these two movies that the story was heavily inspired by King of Comedy and Taxi Driver. Like, it's not a coincidence that Robert De Niro plays the talk show host. It's not a masterpiece or anything, but it was really a breath of fresh air to see a comic book movie like this that just scales things back and is really a character study at its core. I really hope we see more movies like this in the mainstream. Klaus. Almost no one is talking about this movie, and I have no idea why. This is just such an enjoyable, heartwarming movie, and it's on Netflix, so pretty much anyone can watch it. It's one of the few Christmas movies from recent years that's actually been good. Really, I'm just a sucker for 2D animation, and this is super stylized, and I just love the look of it. I like the turn that it takes on the Kris Kringle Christmas origin tale, but yeah, if you want to watch it, just pop it on Netflix. Long Shot. Another mainstream comedy that I can really only describe as fine. Like, there's definitely good humor in it at times, but I'm tired of seeing Seth Rogen over the top falling over. Like, can you do something else, please? Maleficent 2. Yeah, I barely remember anything about this movie. The only thing I can recall actually liking about it is the set design of when she wakes up in that big nest. Like, it was some Pan's Labyrinth meets Blade Runner 2049 type set design. I was like, whoa, they actually put a little effort in here. Alright, Marriage Story. This movie is phenomenal. The performances from both Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver in this movie are nothing short of career-defining. For a movie that's entirely based around a married couple getting a divorce, it doesn't go big with the vast majority of its emotional punches. It really just lets you in the mindset of both characters and lets you absorb this situation. It's presented in a way where even if you end up thinking that one character is in the right, you can't just push the other one off to the side like, oh, they're being completely unreasonable. Why are they such an asshole? Another movie that's just ready to load up on Netflix. Like, just go watch it. It's easily my favorite movie I've seen this year. Go watch it. Do it. Now. Alright, Midsommar. This is probably something I should watch a second time because the longer it sticks in my mind, the more I like it. Again, this is a movie that isn't for everybody, but I think you should watch it if you're a fan of non-traditional horror. The inventiveness on display here is just great. Missing Link. I don't think any other movie on this list can be better described as just fine. The animation is fine. The acting is fine. The writing is fine. If you want to watch a fine movie, watch Missing Link. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, from my favorite director, Quentin Tarantino. This is really not like anything else he's ever made. If anything, it feels more like The Big Lebowski, which I've seen comparisons to it, and I've gotta say I agree. The well-expected Tarantino carnage at the end is really a make-or-break moment for this movie for most people, from what I can see, but I really liked it regardless. I really thought it was a good change of pace. Leo is fantastic as always, and Brad Pitt really played a good supporting character. Kind of indifferent for most of the movie, but it's a fun time. Overcomer. I could literally just repeat what I said about Breakthrough for this one. Rocketman. I really like this movie. The choice to portray it as a musical that spreads throughout Elton John's life was really intriguing to me, and the musical sequences were just fantastic. Actually, Crocodile Rock might have been my favorite sequence in this whole movie, and I don't even like that song. I did find the story itself a little bit by the numbers for a biopic, but if you want to watch a well-presented musical, go ahead. Spider-Man Far From Home. I did have this rated higher initially after I first saw it, but as time went on, I've really lost track of what exactly I liked about it. There's a few good visual effects sequences, but other than that, it doesn't really offer that much in terms of spectacle. Even though they shot it on location in Europe, they just for some reason decided not to really show off the location, which was weird. I do really like Tom Holland as this new version of Spider-Man though, and I'm really excited to see where they take his character after what happened in the post-credit scene. Yeah, if you didn't watch that, you really need to look that up. Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker was really disappointing. I'm going to talk about this one a little bit longer because I have a decent amount to say and I don't really feel like making a full video on it. Keep in mind that I'm saying this as someone who gave The Last Jedi a positive review after I first saw it. This sequel trilogy is just a total tonal disaster when you really look back and think about it. And I realized after watching this that I only really liked what they did with The Last Jedi in theory, because subverting expectations and basically throwing everything that The Force Awakens set up out the window is a really interesting idea, but they clearly didn't have a plan for what they were going to do with the story from all the behind-the-scenes stuff that's come out, which is just completely ridiculous because they bought Star Wars for $4 billion and you don't even have a basic outline of where you want the story to go. Like, that's the first thing you should do. What? It really does feel like when J.J. Abrams was brought back on to make this movie after Rian Johnson basically threw everything he set up out the window in the first movie, he basically just went like, uh-oh, he messed up my story, what am I gonna do now? Palpatine's back, everybody, look, nostalgia. And yeah, the only really consistent thing throughout these three movies is Kylo Ren. I actually really like his character, and Adam Driver basically carried this movie from being totally unwatchable. At the end of the day, it's one of those movies that I really only watched to be a part of the conversation because I had a feeling that it wasn't going to be good, and I was right. Tall Girl. I half watched this because my wife turned it on and I was doing something else, but yeah, this is why? Yeah, the movie centers around a girl who is a social outcast at her high school because she is 6'1". 6'1". Okay, and yes, I am 6'4", which is probably adding to how dismissive I am to that, but I still don't think that that's the level of a circus freak that this movie is presenting her to be. Also, the acting and writing are just, oh boy, they're bad. Under the Silverlake, for some reason, this movie isn't really reviewed that well by critics, but I really enjoyed it because I love movies that are able to comment on the entertainment industry in Hollywood in a unique, kind of pessimistic way. I also have to commend the level of detail that they put into this secret code that they follow throughout the movie. There's an entire subreddit dedicated to debunking some codes that appear in the movie. This is probably another movie that I need to watch a second time, but yeah, this has cult classic written all over it. The upside. Kevin Hart actually tried to play someone other than Kevin Hart, and good for him, but why are Bryan Cranston and Nicole Kidman in this level of a movie? Like, I don't get it. There's nothing particularly bad about this movie. It's just really predictable, and I didn't really like it all that much. I also haven't seen the original French movie that this is apparently a remake of, but I'll go out on a limb and say that that's probably better, and you should probably watch that over this. Jordan Peele's follow up to Get Out, Us, was really confusing in a bad way. I can really appreciate what he was going for here, but the twist at the end of this movie just really did not work, and it brought up way more questions than it answered. One of my only complaints about Get Out was how it didn't really feel all that dark or horror-ish, and this movie tried to compensate for that, I think, and the comedy suffered as a result. Hopefully, whatever Jordan Peele does next, he can find that perfect balance. Velvet Buzzsaw. What happened here, dude? The same director as Nightcrawler teaming up with Jake Gyllenhaal again, in theory, should have been great. Especially since I watched Nightcrawler again before I watched this movie, and the differences in just about every aspect of this movie to Nightcrawler are just night and day. The only thing I can kind of point to of quality in this movie is the set design. Given that it's about art, it at least should look good, so that's something. But yeah, putting icing on a turd isn't gonna make it taste good. Yesterday. Now, this is a movie that you can definitely nitpick to death, but I enjoyed it. I don't care. I love the vibe that this gives off, that it's sort of like a social experiment, like what would you do if you were put in this situation? And I just always find movies like that interesting. My only other complaint that isn't nitpicking the story is the amount of Dutch angles that show up in this movie. I can't stand Dutch angles. Every time I see one, I want to throw up. 47 meters down, uncaged. Everything that happens in this movie that causes tension is all because of a screaming fish. Yeah, you heard me right. And we're ending things with Six Underground, possibly the most Michael Bay movie ever made. He's still doing those weird explosions that look like fireworks. Like, stop it. That's just annoying. It might have looked cool in 1998, but we're over it now. Stop it. And the editing in this movie. I swear to God, it's like whoever Michael Bay hires to edit his movies has ADHD or something. And I'm not just saying that to be edgy or something. I can't exaggerate this, that there are just conversation scenes in this movie that for absolutely no reason cut to like 7 different angles within 5 lines. Like, why? Like, let it breathe for a second. My God. Also, if you take a shot every time Ryan Reynolds runs into a monologue just out of nowhere in this movie, you might die. All I can say is that I hope that everyone who made this movie was on a near-lethal amount of cocaine. That's the only reason I could think of that this would be excusable. And there we have it. That's all the movies I watched in 2019. Let me know what your favorite movie or least favorite movie of the year was down in the comments, and subscribe to my channel to see more videos that I'm gonna post, I swear. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.